peeps, welcome back to Project Anonymous. In today's video,
we're going to unbox, set up, and test out a filament dryer for a 3D printer.
So let's get to it. Thank you so much to FIXDRY for sending us this filament dryer.
Yeah, so they sent us this filament dryer to test it out and do a review on their dual spool filament dryer.
So Dad, why would you need a filament dryer for your 3D printer?
Well, that's a good question. Well, 3D printer filament plastic is actually susceptible to absorbing moisture from the air, and that moisture is not good for 3D printing because as it goes through the hot end of the nozzle, that plastic heats up and that moisture also heats up and turns into steam, which creates bubbles in your print, and that's not good. In order to reduce that, a 3D printer filament dryer will kind of take that moisture out of the plastic, making a cleaner print with less porosity. Depending on what type of plastic you're printing with, a filament dryer will have a varied level of effect. So PLA is very not susceptible to moisture absorption, and therefore you can create a pretty clean print regardless of what your moisture content is. However, when printing with things like nylon, that is very susceptible to moisture absorption and will have terrible poopy prints if you don't dry it out first. We intend to print with nylon in the future, and this is going to be a great way to get us there.
And for today's test, we're going to be using PETG, and we're just going to try to see if we'll get a better printing result with the FIXDRY filament dryer.
Yep, so we're going to test this out with a Benchy.
Let's get to it.
All right, so here it is unboxed. As you can see, you can fit 2 rolls of filament, and there's a lot of holes or grommets that you can feed that filament through. And it also comes with a small PTFE tube to help guide that filament out and to where it goes into the machine. So we'll probably use a little cut of this to kind of feed it out of the box. And then it comes with a little user manual to get it set up right, as well as some recommended temperature settings for different types of filament. Okay, so this is our current printing setup right now, and you can see I 3D printed a little bracket here to hold our filament off to the side so we can get a straighter feed into our drive. And we're gonna have to take that off, and we're gonna fit the FIXDRY filament dryer right here, and it's gonna feed right into our 3D printer. So let's go ahead and get this set up. So it's reading the room at 20 degrees Celsius, 43% humidity, and we can do some settings here. Just set it to what we want it to be. And we'll refer back to our owner's manual for what we should preheat this stuff to. So for PETG, we should set it to 65 degrees Celsius and for 2 hours to dry out. So we'll see what kind of results we can get. Right now, again, the room is at 40% humidity, and we'll see what we can get it down to. So it fits nicely right on there, and it rolls pretty smoothly. Pretty cool. Okay, so it's done. It completed its 2-hour drying, I guess, and it got it down to 14%. So that's quite a bit lower of humidity percentage than it was before. So what we're going to do now is we are going to run the line to the machine and we're going to do another benchy. I don't think you explicitly have to use this PTFE tubing here to run it through, but we might as well. All right, I'm going to turn the heat on the machine so that we can make sure it's in there all the way. I just use my app here, turn this up to 240, and you can see as I feed it in here from the drive system, it's pulling the filament in. So the hot end is up to temp, and you can see as I push filament through, it's feeding through. So we are all the way at the tip of the nozzle now. Now it's time to start our benchy. Okay, so we have our two benchies here that we're going to look under the digital microscope, and we have the one that is not taped on the bottom is our non-dried PETG, and then the one with the tape on the bottom we put on to signify our dried PETG, and this was at 14 and 15% humidity compared to this one, which just started out with our ambient humidity. So we'll go ahead and look at this one first, then we'll look at this one, and then we'll compare the two to see if there's any difference. So what we're hoping to see here is that with the dried filament that we see a little less stringing and I guess goopiness of the filament, making for a better print. We'll see if that's there. So first, let's look at the non-dried filament. Okay, so we do have some stringing here, pull that there, some stringing there, and then we didn't print this with any supports. You know, there's just some overhang issues there, no big deal. Overall, I'll say this is actually a pretty good print. This is where the seam is when it bumps up a level. This side here is very clean, with some strings here. But overall, it's not a bad print for having sat out in the house with no drying, but obviously a lot of stringing. So let's look at the dried print. Still some stringing, overhang issues that we saw before, seam. Not a lot of major differences that you can visually see here. A little bit of stringing there. Still a very clean print. Not a whole lot of issues there. The parts that we did notice that there's a difference here. If we put these two side by side, again, this is our dried filament and this is our non-dried filament. Put them side by side here. Focus that. So with our non-dried filament, there was a lot of goopiness here in this corner here and some stringing, as well as right up here at the front, versus this one was actually very clean. Not a whole lot of issues with that. So there are some subtle differences, mainly on the top surfaces. You can see that the dried filament is just a little bit cleaner, I think, but overall not a whole lot of major differences. Now I will say if this was a more susceptible type of plastic that we're printing with, such as TPU or nylon, I think we would see some more significant differences with this print. So that I think is neat that we're going to be able to try nylon now and perhaps have some good results with that, because nylon is significantly stronger, I think, than PETG. That's our results.
Once again, a huge thank you to FIXDRY for sending us this filament dryer.
Yeah, it's a great addition to our 3D print tools. If you want to get a filament dryer of your own from FIXDRY, check the link down below.
Even though we didn't see a huge difference with our PETG material, we're definitely going to try this out with nylon in the future to see if we get a big difference.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to print with nylon in the future, and we honestly haven't at this point because we didn't have a 3D print filament dryer, but now that we have one, it's going to be nice to create some strong parts with nylon. Now, of note here, we do use an Ender 3 for our 3D printer, and it has been heavily modified with a new hot end, so we are now capable of printing the temperatures necessary for nylon. But a stock Ender 3 would not be able to get to that high without melting the PTFE tube. So make sure if you are going to be printing high temperature nylon on your Ender 3, you got to get a new hot end.
Anyways, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like if you liked it.
Like it.
Subscribe if you enjoy our content.
Subscribe.
And turn on those notifications so you get reminded every single time we post a video. Stay crafty.
And be happy.
Bye.